Women cannot raise men. I think we all have noticed that today men are softer, weaker, flatter than they ever have been. Just go about your day-to-day life, particularly in the West, and I'm speaking from the United States perspective, but you could really apply this to most areas in the West, the modern world. Men are going about life wearing pajamas, house shoes, walking on their tippy toes. They have no bass in their voice. I mean, if you go back and listen to interviews of men that were 20, 25, 30, 50 or 100 years ago compared to men of the same age today, there is no comparison. Absolutely no comparison. There's a variety of reasons for this, but today's topic is the fact that women have been pushed to be single mothers, and not only has it been promoted, they have been incentivized to do so on a variety of levels. And quite frankly, it's a matter of national security. And what women do is they raise boys. They cannot raise a man. They're not men. They don't know how to be a man. They never went through life as a man. So how possibly could they raise a man? They have no perspective on the matter. It would be like a fish trying to raise a fisherman. There's just a completely different element there. Now, I'm not speaking in regards to babies, infants, toddlers, young children. I'm talking about children anywhere from 5 to 7 and older. That's what we're speaking about here. Women are exceptional at raising, of course, babies, toddlers, young children. We're not talking about that. We're talking about that 5 to 7 and older range is what we're speaking on. And there are exceptions here. There are women, maybe the father has passed away. Maybe the father is in prison. Those are some exceptions where maybe she had nothing to do with those scenarios and she's in that situation. We'll talk about what can be done in that situation in the future here in a moment. So let's talk about the incentives women have been given to become single mothers. The media, of course, they're promoting it. They're putting them on pedestals. Their corporations are building breastfeeding offices. They're building daycares. They're providing incentives for childcare. There's childcare tax breaks. There's child support. There's all sorts of financial incentives women can get by keeping a child to herself. However, that woman still requires babysitters, daycare centers, all of the things, because simply they have to work, right? They have to work to pay for those services in a lot of cases, unless they have family that can help out. And I would also argue that the mothers, the grandmothers who are enabling this behavior, they are part of the problem. They are aiding and abetting the problem, the situation. And what they're only creating, the only person they are hurting is that young male. They are only hurting the young male. They are basically creating a weak male that will never become a man. That person will only be able to mature to a certain level, not much further past a young boy in many cases. It's been proven statistically that there's a whole lot of single mother raised men in the prison systems. That's absolutely been proven. Basically, when a man is raised by a single mother, he will have an impediment. He will walk with a limp the rest of his life, because he was raised to be a man by a woman who was never a man. And the sad part is that many of these women that are doing this, they either, one, they can't see it, or two, even worse, they're choosing not to see it or ignoring it. Typically, they hate the father more than they love the son. And so they will sacrifice that son in order to try to punish the father by keeping the son away from the father. And they're only hurting the son, and it will prevent him from becoming a man. Now, maybe you're one of these ladies that's an exception. Maybe the father passed away, or he's in prison, or he's deployed overseas. There are exceptions here. What can you do? Well, there's a high probability that that son has uncles, great uncles, grandfathers. Maybe it's a trusted older neighbor who that son can spend time with. And let's say maybe there's a grandfather and he's in the life, and maybe he doesn't know maybe he wasn't a father, maybe he doesn't know how to be around younger children. Well, it's quite simple. You don't have to entertain children. You just take them along with you and go on about your day doing as you do, doing what you're going to do. And you just take them with you. Maybe they're too young to say you're going to do some landscaping. Maybe they're too young to participate in that. Well, they can sit and observe and watch you do it. I mean, that's all you have to do is take them along with you. It's not rocket science. The Spartans had a system, the ancient Spartans, a culture in Greek civilization. Look this up for yourself. They had a system called the agoge, whereby I believe it was age 7, the son was taken from the mother, in many cases by force if necessary. Now, the wise mothers knew that they could not raise competent men. They knew that. So they willingly, enthusiastically sent their sons to the agoge. But again, there were women who the sons had to be pried from their arms. There's a movie called 300 I encourage you all to watch. It talks a little bit about this, and there's many documentaries on this system. And yes, in many cases it was brutal, it was barbaric in some cases, interpretations. However, it created men of steel. Iron sharpens iron. Men around men sharpen each other in a variety of areas. And again, it was called the agoge. And usually it was around age 7, that son was sent to these training camps. It was a system created in this Greek culture. They were taught how to fight. They were taught how to hunt. They were taught how to survive in the wild. And in many cases, they were even encouraged to wage small wars and battles against each other, to even steal from each other in cases. And also they were punished if they were caught stealing, for example. But they were taught to be smart, taught ingenuity. This is where they really went from boys to men. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go to that level today. However, the government laws that are in place are certainly enabling and compounding this issue. Now, do I think that possibly, for example, the U.S. government is starting to make a U-turn on these things? Yes. However, these things have been going on for 25 to 50 years and possibly a lot longer, where they've compounded to the problem that we're in today. It could take that long to bring it back. It could very well. But at the end of the day, the way the laws are today, the mothers have legal control in many situations on this, and they simply need to know that they are only hurting that child's development by keeping them away, particularly from fathers. And these young men will walk with a limp. They will have an impediment the rest of their life. The easier and softer of a life you provide for a child, particularly a man, the harder his life will be when he gets older. This is a known fact.